Talking trash is like a little bit, it almost belittles what you were doing because you have a master plan and then you executed it to perfection.
I appreciate that.
Unbelievable.
It's truly impressive.
I start doing a little research into this, and it looks like you have this understanding of how to build a fight that is a little bit different than other people who have built fights brilliantly. I think there are people who build fights, right? Because whatever happened in their life, they developed this defense mechanism that made them a heel or a face. It just is what it is. That's who they are. And you strike me as someone who kind of analyzed what a heel is, what a face is, and then worked out what you have to do to execute both of these things. Is that true?
Yes. Yes. I call it the art of the bad guy.
Okay, and when does this begin?
This is a book.
Yeah. When does this begin? How old are you that you start realizing?
Man. Even as a kid, you know, I would watch these fights with my dad, and Sugar Ray Leonard was real big back then. That's my favorite fighter ever. But just to talk, you know, like an era, and then we came through the Mike Tyson era, of course, and you read about the Muhammad Ali era. But it was just one of these things when my dad and I would sit around and we would talk about the fighters that we wanted to see.
Yeah.
And you know, it wasn't just the guy with the good cross or the powerful jab. It wasn't like that. It was a guy that could entertain. It was a guy that could tell a story that would bring us along a journey. Not just you had to be undefeated. And that was a real big thing in boxing. They didn't know how to make a star if they couldn't control the script. Yeah, it was one of those really tough things. And Vince McMahon himself said that. He said you cannot create a star if you can't control the outcome. And Vince was looking to even purchase the UFC at one point, and he passed on it for that very reason. But I remember that quote. I remember when Shane McMahon said that's what his dad said. And I only share that with you because, you know, I just think there's a story there. I remember being in the 3rd grade, and Mrs. Stafford tells our whole classroom to tell a story you have to have 5 W's. Who, what, when, why, and where. And a great promoter is just a great storyteller. A great fight it's nothing more than it has a great story. It never has to do with this guy's a champion or this guy's undefeated. No big fight has ever been based on that. It's a good story. And I just noticed that a lot of guys don't know the 5 W's when they tell a story.
Okay, so every fight that you're going into, every fight that you want, you start pointing out the 5 W's.
That's right. Who, what, when, why, and where. And a really important one is why. And that's a real tough one. A lot of guys are fighting. You know, it used to be really important that you had a good fighter, your village or your tribe. I mean, they would come, they your women, steal your stuff, take your land. It used to be actually important to have somebody that could fight amongst you. And it becomes less important. I mean, what happens now if you lose a fight? A little prestige, a little money. So somebody throws a belt out there. So one day about 100 years ago, some guy throws a belt out there and he sells a bunch of tickets to Madison Square Garden. Now they're fighting over this belt.
Yeah.
But you have to be fighting over something. It's the reason I give you that history lesson. It has to be for something. And sometimes these guys are fighting and there's no purpose on it. There's no contendership. There's no ranking. There's no ego. There's no pride. And they don't understand it's their job to tell the story.
It's up to you to build the purpose.
Yeah, and you have these guys in the fake tough guy business. I've never been around a bigger bunch of fake tough guys than in an MMA locker room. They will pretend it, boy. Oh, yeah, when that microphone's going, oh, they're so tough, and they'll do this and that. And, you know, you get a guy like Dana White or Scott Cook goes in the back and tries to get a contract signed, and they won't do it. They got to talk about talking, meet with my managers, and I need more money. It's one of these really bizarre things. Then you only get 3 fights a year. By the way, I mean, I've taken on 3 guys in one day. These punks want 3 fights in a year, and you can't get them to show up to it. It's a very bizarre time. And what are you fighting for? I think that's the most important thing that you got to tell the audience. And so many people, they don't want to be booed. They're a bunch of bad guys, largely. I mean, bad people go into cage fighting. You take your shirt off, you can beat a guy up in a steel cage for some money in the applause of a drunken audience. You're probably not a really good person to start with. I wanted to think that they're this educated and this smart guy, and I just never understood the concept, man. You're a dirty, rotten cage fighter just like me.
Yeah.
But one of us will admit it and one of us won't. And you know, these guys can't take the hits, man. They can't take the booze. And the booze could be in the form of a tweet that comes out is against them. That would be a booze. They can't take it.
Now, the ones that can take it
make a lot of money.
That's really Now, when do you realize that that's where the money is?
Very early on.
Like high school?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow. Additionally, sorry, when did you realize you can take it? Because that's a rare thing. It's like a gift, really.
Yeah.
Well, and the world changed. You know, what you can take in the hallways at high school is a little bit, you know, when your hometown paper's writing, but once the internet comes out and people can take these shots, it's a very different thing, yeah. How you want to manipulate that, how you want to manufacture it, and they all want, they can't take the booze. And it has just always surprised me that they pretend that this is a nice thing. Or guys say, I can't wait to fight you. You know, it's such an honor. Why would you beat somebody up that you have honor for? Why would you beat somebody up that you respect? You know, it's just a really weird concept to try to tell the audience. You know, I just like him so much. I can't wait to take my fist and drive it into his head. I mean, I've heard people say that actual quote, then smile. And it's like, man, just turn this guy off. Let me find anybody else other than this. He's a boring guy.
There was that Conor Poirier fight.
Sure.
Where I think it was 2, where Conor was really nice. And he was like, and you know, I'm gonna donate to your, you know, what is it, YMCA, and I'm gonna help you with the hot sauce and do these things. And it was like, there was part of you was like, okay, this is new and kind of novel for Conor, but at the same time, it's like the stakes aren't that high for this fight.
Right.
And then 3, of course, where he's going absolutely crazy. You know, your wife's in my DM. It was like,
sure.
Everybody, I mean, that was a wild time, right?
I agree with you. Yeah, he had some fun with it, but there was a reason to tune in. Yeah, I remember when he was doing that nice guy stuff. I'm going to donate.
What do you think that was about?
Well, I like it if he was doing it to be condescending. If he's doing it like, I've got so much money, I can even help you, then I'm into the whole thing. But if you're doing it because, you know, you got put in the paper for getting caught, you know, beating up a girl and snorting coke, and so you're trying to repair your image, it's like, man, don't be a punk. Sometimes just be who you are. That's all that I'm suggesting. The audience is going to see through a fake. So if you're, you know, you want to be that nice guy, but the audience can tell you're acting, you're beat.
Okay, were you surprised when you tried to play up the heel and then the audience started to love the heel?
Yes.
So you were ready for the onslaught of criticism and hate, and then for whatever fucking reason, they love you.
It did become a problem. It did become a problem where it was anti what I was doing. I went and did a show called The Ultimate Fighter in Brazil, but they wanted to kill me in Brazil at that time.
This was fantastic.
Yeah, they really wanted me dead, though. I had a 6-man armed security for everywhere I went. We were in bulletproof cars. This was very real.
The Nogueira.
Yeah, it was after that.
Yeah.
It was after that.
So funny.
It makes sense. Kind of justified.
Play this video. This is my favorite piece of trash talk in fight sports. This is it. There's nothing better.
I was in Las Vegas when the Nogueira brothers first touched down in America. There was a bus this is a true story. There was a bus that pulled up to a red light, and little Nog tried to feed it a carrot while Big Nog was petting it. He thought it was a horse. This really happened. Do you believe me that happened?
Not really.
He tried to feed a bus a carrot. And now you're telling me that country has computers? I didn't know that. I did not know that. Do you remember when I said he fed the bus a carrot? Were you even listening? Is this thing on? Is this on? And then the other one was petting the bus, saying, "Whoa, big fella." He thought it was a horse. And now you're telling me they have computers in Brazil? That's crazy to me. What was your question?
So it makes sense, right? It makes sense.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you giving me homage to this stuff and telling me that you enjoyed it. I don't know that anybody has ever told me. No, I mean, the whole thing was scripted. The whole thing was planned in my own mind, but that had never been done before. Like, Errol doesn't know how to respond. I mean, that is very normal today. When that piece was done, that was done in Las Vegas. The executive director at the time tried to pull my license. When he found out that I did that in Nevada, he decided he had jurisdiction over that. He tried to pull my license, and I was in the room when he told Lorenzo Fertitta and Dana White, he said, kids are gonna look up to this guy, and this is not what I want kids to be like. I used no profanity, I made no threats. I've never used a 4-letter word. I've been called the greatest SHIT talker in all of sport, but I've never used profanity. This guy was gonna pull my license because he marked out for the gimmick so much. He thought I was such a bad guy and I was doing such bad things that I claimed this guy didn't know the difference between a horse and a bus, and you know, he's got kids, and what can he think of that? Yeah, he tried to pull my license.
He thought that was bad, but you guys getting in the ring and almost killing one another, that's fine.
He's a government official that oversees fist fighting in a steel cage. And and he did pull, by the way, he didn't get my license because that would have required a hearing, but they did stop me from the opportunity.
Wow.
And I had a really hard time getting through to this guy because he just fell for it so much. I would come to his weigh-ins, he'd be disgusted with me.
Now, was there a little part of you when you saw him that pissed off?
Yes.
Did you go, oh, this fight's gonna be huge?
100%. No, I knew what I was trying to get, but this was the part that was the problem. Or you asked me sometimes when I was being a heel, but then they ended up cheering for me.
Yeah.
when I wouldn't get the response that I was looking for, it would throw me off. I'd look around and go, what are you guys doing? Like, how far can I go? I don't know what else to do within my own code. I had a code too. I wasn't going to threaten a guy.
That's
or
very
threaten
important
his family
to you. Code is a heel.
That's right.
So what is the code of the heel?
I think that you have to establish to the audience, if you're an anti-hero, what your code is, but then you must fiercely adhere to that code, whether you're right or wrong, whether it's within the rules or even within laws. If it's your code, and you will back your own code. And my whole thing, I would say whatever I wanted about a guy, but no matter what, any guy, any weight class, and any night, I would show up. It would not matter how sick I was. I would leave that locker room on time every time. I have never missed a competition. I've been doing this since I was 9 years old. But that was part of the code. If you said it, you got to go answer for it. If you got to go to his hometown,
part of the code?
No profanity, part of the code.
Specific reason for that?
No, I just didn't like it. I just didn't think it was. I thought there wasn't a creativeness to it. I thought it was
like
more
you think
creative.
it's beneath you creatively.
A bad guy, when you're not. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but this is.
But
this
calling
is just
someone a
what I thought.
fucking asshole isn't as bad as saying he tried to feed a bus of carrots.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yes, where one
it would
is
hurt
very
me more
clear.
if you said I petted a bus.
One is a very clear negativity, and the other one is bringing a negative energy without the negativity. It gets a little bit more complex.
Now, do you find out that people love humor so much that it doesn't matter how mean you are, as long as you make them laugh, they'll love you?
That was a lot of truth. That was a lot of truth. As long as they would have fun. And I did find out through the process that this is a journey. I used to think you had to be undefeated. You had to be the world champion and the Olympic champion. But you don't if you can get people to come along. If for whatever reason that just changes the story and it shifts over here. And so I would have those planned. I would have speeches planned in my head that I was going to say to Joe Rogan after I won. But I'd have speeches that if I lost too, I'd know exactly what I was going to say.
So, sorry, to Andrew's question.
Wait, hold on. Okay. 1 second to that. So you planned a losing speech for fights?
Yeah, every time.
Even if you knew you were favorite, even if you knew you were going to wax this guy, you maybe fought him once before, you sparred him, you know you're going to beat this guy, you still plan.
Every time.
Do you think that messes with you psychologically? Does it invite negativity into the fight where you're like, oh, I'm going to lose?
I've read about that. I've heard people say that you have to have confidence, you must believe in it. I never had confidence any night. I never knew, but I also thought that's only what bullies did. I thought only a bully's going to fight a guy that he knows he can beat. I don't know if I can beat any of these guys. I thought that was part of the honor. And I've heard people say I was 100%, I knew, and I was like, man, in my life, I've never been 100%. Except for my wife. I knew that was the right girl for me, but that is truly the only thing in my life that I knew for sure. The rest of it was all a gamble.
Yeah.
Now, to Andrew's earlier question, you planned all this out. Can you walk us through when you were like, oh, I can make more money being the heel than the face, and I have what it takes to get booed and be okay with it?
I just knew that there's only two characters, right? From the beginning of Hollywood, you got a good guy and you've got a bad guy.
Yeah.
There isn't 500 flavors. There aren't 30 other ways that you got a good guy and you got a bad guy. And so you got to monitor what he's doing, and then you've got to come over the top. And all the guys want to be the good guy. I mean, I've fought some really bad guys before and made them look like good guys, and they loved it. They couldn't believe it. Oh, this guy's being the jerk and it's not me. And but one was authentic and one wasn't. I don't think that there was anything wrong. If you're going to go fight a guy, why are you bowing to him? Why are you talking about this is about honor and respect? Why are you wearing your bathrobes and talking about your belts and pretending you can break bricks and stuff? I just thought it was weird. I don't know why these guys did this in martial arts. I think one of the great helps to our sport that never gets credit is actually Tank Abbott. Tank Abbott is one of the first people that came along and said, man, this isn't martial arts. And it's not. It's a cage fight. That's what it really is. These are cage fighters.
Yeah.
I thought there was an honor in that. I thought there was honor in telling the truth.
Is there anybody you saw or you've seen since do it at your level?
Yeah, oh gosh. I mean, I love the work of McGregor. You want to know who's very good on the microphone and never got his credit was Rampage Jackson.
No, Rampage is hilarious.
He was great though.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being at living rooms and we would turn it up and make the room go quiet after his fights, whether he won or whether he lost. We all wanted to hear what Rampage said. And that's never happened to me before. Not even in Mike Tyson fights or Sugar Ray Leonard. Nobody. Have I been in living rooms where we've should people so we can hear what this guy has to say, except for Rampage.
Yeah. And why do you think?
And even, I don't know. He was charismatic. He was funny, but he also had a story. He had somewhere he was going to go with
and
it.
Absolutely no filter.
That's right.
Yeah. He could say something that would destroy his career.
Yes.
Almost every time when he picked up the mic, he was capable of saying something that would destroy his career.
Courage. He had the courage to say something,
ruin it all.
even if it might ruin his career. Yeah. But he was also a chess player. So many guys, it's just about tonight only. And Rampage was like, no, tonight's going to lead me here. I always felt like that with Rampage, that when his fights ended, before we faded to black and rolled the credits, we knew what was coming next. I always thought that was very smart.
You were similar, I assume.
I tried to do that. I tried to get that audience while they're here and
you almost
parlay them to what comes next.